Good afternoon, everyone. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest. Today, we're going to be going over the updated version of the new player's guide. We're going to go over tier lists. We're going to go over basics and fundamentals of the game that you have to know and have to implement. It's going to be quite a long and bumpy ride, so buckle up because we are going to be going for a while. All right, I have an entire list of things that every new player is going to have to know now coming into War of the Visions. If you are just recently joining War of the Visions, you're probably noticing that there's a lot of level 120 units coming out. There's a lot of EX units coming out in the near future. So you kind of have to ask yourself, is now a good time to get in? What do I, invest in terms of units and tier lists? And that's kind of what I am here to help you guys solve. Let's go ahead and go into my units tab, and we'll talk about what units are going to be really important for you to reroll. One of the things that I think is very unique about War of the Visions is that you don't necessarily have to reroll, particularly with some of the more recent implementations, to have a pretty viable and useful team. There are definitely some things you're going to want to look for, and they're kind of the standard archetypes, right? You're going to want to look for a solid damage dealer, you're going to want to look for a healer, and if you can, you're going to want to get some type of a tank as well. So you can see here, I have a variety of units that I think would be optimal for a new player to roll for. Now, the only unit here that you cannot actively roll for is Warrior of Light. And the reason I have Warrior of Light on the list is because within the next 3 months, probably sometime within you watching this video, if you're watching it before June or July, we are expecting the Warrior of Light banner to return, and that is going to be a substantial banner for new players. So if you're looking for a good solid tank to hoard for, Warrior of Light is going to be an excellent unit for you to save for. It is going to be tempting to pull on the Final Fantasy X banner as a new player. It will also be tempting to pull on the 2B banner. However, if you're willing to wait, for the Final Fantasy I banner to return, Warrior of Light is going to serve you exceptionally well. Let's go ahead and go through the units, and I'll talk about why each of them is important. One thing you're also going to notice is I have various units from different rarities. You'll notice most of these are UR, but we also have Mia, who's a rare. We have Mont, who's an MR. We have Salir, who's an MR. We have Lavilliere, which is an MR, and we also have Phoebe, which is an SR. The reason I have the SR, MR, and R units on here is because we do have different awakening materials or different leveling materials for each rarity of unit. So it makes sense for newer players to pick one from each rarity to focus on first, because you're going to have the leveling materials to level up a variety of units. Now, we'll go over the specific materials that are important here in just a little bit, but for now, let's talk about why these units are on the tier list and what units are the most important. Now, probably the most important unit, which you will always hear, is Ziza. Now, this is Ziza right here, and she is critical for her TMR called the Ziza's Bells, commonly, or just Bells is how they're referred to, which is basically a TMR that gives AP Restoration, which is one of the only TMRs in the game that does this. And so it is a very important, powerful item for any damage dealing type of class. Now, Ziza, because of a recent update, is actually acquirable from guild tokens. So previously you would have had to re-roll for her. Now all you have to do is save up 2,000 guild tokens and you can get her. I'm still putting her on the list in terms of units that are important to have for beginners, because this is such a critical unit. You have to have her. You have to have her TMR. If you're wanting to be relevant in the game at all, and I cannot emphasize this at all, you must have her TMR. Let's go ahead and go over some of the other units. We have a couple other units here, and I think one of the most important things is having a solid damage dealing unit. Now, there are a couple units that do fulfill this kind of niche damage dealing role. So we have Victoria right here, who is an Ice Element Dragoon. Victoria is my personal favorite unit, is very powerful in Arena on all types of levels because her Limit Burst does charm. She's served me so well, and she doesn't have an EX yet, but she just, if you're looking for a unit to carry you, just a solid damage dealing unit, I cannot recommend any other unit besides Victoria. Now, Ketone, very similar to Ziza, is also quite easily acquirable, and you can actually purchase her with tokens. So she is going to be a very easy unit for you to acquire, and you can actually max her relatively easily. She's a very solid unit. She has nice evasion, and she has a very good limit burst, which does stop the opponent. So Ketone is one of those units where, while she's not meta defining, she is an excellent start if you're willing to pursue an evasion build, or she's an excellent damage dealer to kind of bring you into the game. Now, one warning with Ketone is that there's not really secondary uses for leveling her. She is basically a free unit because you can purchase her with tokens, but you're not going to see her being utilized much in, raids or high-level PvE content. She's just going to be kind of one of those units that's available to you as a strong DPS to help either carry you through the storyline. Maybe you'll do some arenas with her. I would say she's probably the bottom of the list in terms of DPS I would level, but since she's free, she gets an honorary mention on here. Glaciella is an extremely powerful unit, and you'll notice that Glaciella and Victoria are both spear users. Just saying, I'm a personal fan of the spear meta. Glaciella also has a dual purpose in that her TMR is very powerful. White Wolf's Armor is a TMR that I use quite often. It gives the ability War Maiden's Vitality, which raises the unit's own AP, and it also gives slash resistance. Slash is the most dominant type of attack in the game, so being able to give you slash resistance as well as boost your AP on a piece of armor, very powerful. Glaciella also has some very powerful abilities that give her access to both movement and attack power, so you can't go wrong with leveling Glaciella. Now, the other UR units on the list are pretty important, I would say. Medina you do get for free, so Medina you can get for free from the challenge mission, but I think Medina you may want to hold off on leveling. Now, the reason I say you want to hold off on leveling is that Ildira fulfills basically the same role as Medina, but she does it significantly better, and you can purchase her for friend points. Ildira is probably the #1 unit that you want to level to help you clear content, to help you farm pieces of gear. She is going to be the unit that you bring into multi-room. She's going to be the unit that you are always slotting into your party. Calculators are so massively powerful and so effective at farming. Ildira is going to be your go-to. So make sure you pick up Ildira, make sure you're leveling and maxing her. She would be my personal first priority, and then I would probably go for both Ziza and a damage dealer. Now, in terms of healers, you are going to hear everybody talking about Yuna because Yuna's going to have come out with Final Fantasy X here in the near future, but Ayaka is going to be your solid go-to in-game healer. I would recommend Ayaka. Her EX is actually going to be pretty good, and Ayaka is one of those staples of the game. She kind of carries the team. She kind of carries the torch. She's literally been a relevant unit since the beginning of the game. She has access to full life to raise your units. Her limit break fully heals essentially your entire party. She's going to be a unit that you're going to want to have leveled if you don't have access to, say, Yuna or one of these other powerful healing units. It is important to note that Ildira can heal the party pretty substantially as well. So Ayaka might be on your back burner if you are maxing out Ildira first. In terms of damage dealers, we have one more to talk about, and that is going to be El Sorel for the UR unit. Now, El Sorel is a brawler type of character, and she's a relatively new character to global, but she is a very powerful light element unit that can both kind of take a hit, deal damage, self-heal, chain, which will be really important, which we'll talk about later, and she kind of fulfills all those roles in one. So she is going to be absolutely incredible. You're going to want to get her. It's not like a must-have right this second. It's more of like a happy accident, right? When it comes to Victoria, when it comes to El Sorel, when it comes to Glaciella, what you're looking for is that happy accident that's happened to your account. Like, oh, I re-rolled and I pulled El Sorel. Didn't get Victoria this time, but Dig said El Sorel's good, so I'm going to invest in her. So you're looking for the happy accident. That is kind of what El Sorel, Victoria, Glaciella is kind of the role that they fill. Now, there is one more UR unit on here, which is Uldoa, and Uldoa is on here solely for her TMR. The Oldoa Apron is the third TMR, which does give a significant AP restore, and it also gives defense penetration. This is probably like the far stretch, but if you're someone who's looking to get in for the long haul, having Oldoa and maxing out Oldoa's TMR is going to be important and relevant for your team. Not as important as getting Ziza's bells, because that's obviously number one, but it is going to be very big. Now, let's go ahead and look at the different rarity units. We have 3 MRs on the list right now: Mont, Celir, and Levelier. Levelier is another is another calculator black mage unit. So the temptation with Livial is that you are going to be able to kind of, with Ildira, area of effect farm quickly and be really that powerhouse PvE farmer. Celir, if you don't have access to Ayaka, or maybe you don't have Ildira, if you do manage to pull a Celir, Celir is very viable. I got my dogs whining in the background here. they're playing right now. Celir is going to be a very powerful black mage and healer class. She doesn't have her EX in JP yet, but she is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I would definitely recommend her. I think, though, she's kind of towards the bottom of the MR pile right now. I think you're going to want to focus Mont. I think you're going to want to focus Livial. But I did put her on here for good faith because she has been a very reliable unit. Mont, you are going to want to max out. Maxing out Mont is just one of those things you're going to have to do, and he has actually a very powerful EX form. So if we are in the EX meta when you're watching this video, go ahead, level Mont to 120. You can feel confident that he will actually be useful and viable. He's kind of like a tank slash DPS, leaning more on the tank side, but since you can get other items like Vow of Love for free, Mont is going to be very powerful and can act as a tank for you in PvE situations or towards the beginning of the game. Now, in terms of SR units, there's only one unit I recommend, and that is Phoebe. Phoebe is my girl. If you are looking for a healer, Phoebe is it. She's not incredible. She's not an Ayaka. She's not an Ildira. But when you need Phoebe, she is there to support you. The biggest drawback with Phoebe compared to Ayaka and compared to Ildira is that her heals are not instant, and she has significantly lower agility than them. However, Phoebe is a primary job time mage and can also sub white mage. So Phoebe has access to quicken, Phoebe has access to haste, Phoebe has access to heals. Phoebe is kind of that unit where when you least suspect it, she is going to be able to support and help you. We also have her TMR, the Chronal Cap, which gives agility 5, defense 11, light attack resistance up 10. While not an amazing TMR, for a beginner player, this cap is really powerful. Anything with agility up on pieces of gear as a newer player, you are going to want to prioritize on your units. Now, for rare units, I do have Mia here. Now, Mia is a very good stealing unit. I would say rare units should not be your priority because the stats are just going to be so low. But Mia is going to be a very powerful unit that you will want to have access to for Mug in the future when you are looking at putting together Gill Snapper Mug teams. Now, there was one other unit on the list, and that is Luartha. Luartha is one of those units that is available to access for free right now. Gunners take a little bit more work to put together than any of the other units in this sort of list that I've talked about. So keep that in mind when you are thinking about investing in Luartha. She's kind of a once you're settled into the game, then you invest in her type of character. All right, well, we got through the character tier list. Let's go ahead and talk about where you would go to purchase some of these units, because I did say some of them were purchasable. If you go to the Mog Shop, you can come down here and you can see for friend medals, you can purchase Ildira for 2,000 friend medals. Do not purchase Mashery. I repeat, do not purchase Mashery. You can purchase Ketone, and then you can purchase 10 of their shards per day. You can also get Medina shards here, and if you didn't know, or if you didn't hear me say it earlier, you can also get Medina for free from the challenge missions. Now, coming to arena medals, you can buy a whole bunch of things here as well. I'm just going to touch on this real quick. You can buy Horns First Division, Vow of Love, and Secret Orders. We'll be talking about those in just a minute when we are talking about vision cards. So keep this in mind when we are in our vision card section. For guild medals, you can purchase Ziza here. You can purchase Ziza shards. You can buy Luartha and Luartha shards. I would stay away from Whisper. I think for newer players, Whisper is going to drain resources. And in order to get the best out of Whisper, you really have to be an experienced player with lots of different pieces of gear and TMRs. All right, let's go ahead. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and talk about vision cards and let's talk about Espers. So heading over to the vision card menu here, you're going to see that there are tons of vision cards. And it can be really easy as a new player to invest your resources into the wrong vision card and kind of get stuck. If you are a free-to-play player, vision cards are potentially one of the things you want to re-roll for, because as a free-to-play player, vision cards and upgrading vision cards are one of the hardest things to do in the game. Now, I do have a list of favorites here, and you're going to notice a pattern, and that pattern is that you're going to want to focus agility, you're going to want to focus single unit attack resistance, and party ability effects from the vision cards. So let's go ahead and we'll start from the bottom because the bottom has some lower tier rarity units. The first thing you're going to notice is that we do have Leonis Castle here. Leonis Castle, every single player in the game should max out. This is one of the most powerful VCs in the game, particularly if you're a new player. It gives defense up, spirit up 15. That's just vital. It's super easy to level. It's a real quick way to level up a VC and slap it on your character. Everybody's going to have this, and this is really the way to go if you are a new or beginning player. The Job Crystal. If you are able to shell out like $7 to $12, depending on where you're at, the Job Crystal does give acquired JP up 50% and acquired AP up 20% for the individual effect. This is pretty helpful. JP is going to be a bottleneck for you as well as a new player. So getting this card from the purchase shop is a great way to support your team and to build your team. And there are a lot of people out there who think this is one of the most powerful VCs in the game just because of the JP up 50%. Iron Giant. Now, this is an MRVC, so a lot of people are going to have access to this. The Iron Giant gives slash attack resistance up and slash attack up 20. Does come with agility minus 3%, but again, as a new player, most units are slash attack, so you're going to get that resistance, and you're going to boost slash attack of your individual units as well. Secret Orders, you're going to notice slash attack up as well. It's also going to give the individual unit agility up 10%. This is, again, one of those cards that is purchasable, so you are going to be able to purchase and max it. 100% would recommend. However, you're going to notice that there are a lot of cards with slash attack up, so just decide which one you're going to use and focus on one of those, because the VC party-wide abilities do not stack. So, for example, I could not do Secret Orders and Iron Giant. I have to choose one of them because the slash attack will not stack with the other slash attack. Vow of Love gives party-wide attack up 30%, individual unit slash attack up 20, and hate up 5. Now, Vow of Love is very powerful because it can manipulate the AI in your favor because it gives enmity up generation on your individual unit that it's on. Now, just like I said, slash attack couldn't stack for party-wide abilities, the bestowed effect slash attack will stack with the party-wide ability because the bestowed effect is on the individual unit and the party ability is on the party. So if you were running Secret Orders, you would have both sources of slash attack up. Now, the hate up here, again, very powerful. There are situations where you can't clear content in this game unless you have Vow of Love to manipulate the AI to behave in a certain way, particularly when you're doing high-level strategies. So Vow of Love, you can purchase for free in the Arena token shop, and I would go and get it because it is a very powerful card. Chocobo, another MR card with agility up 10% and defense up 10 on the individual unit. One thing you're going to notice is that agility up is king in this game. You heard me talk about the equipment that has agility up. That is vital. The same thing goes with vision cards. Vision card agility up is so important, and make sure that you are prioritizing it. Horton's First Division Solidus. Now, this would not have previously made the list, but it is one of the VCs that is now purchasable and fully accessible via tokens. So the capability of giving slash attack up resistance for the party, magic attack up for the individual unit. If you're running a powerful magic unit, this would be very good with them. You can also see the base magic stat on it is very powerful. So Horns First Division Solidus is a very powerful card for new players. Dashing over a snowy field, we're getting into some specifics now. If you're running a Pierce composition, dashing through a snowy field gives Pierce attack up 35 for the party, and it gives agility up 5% for the individual unit. Another kind of similar card, Echoing Screams, gives slash attack up 35 for the party, attack debuff resistance up 25 for the individual unit. So one thing you have to know when you are looking at VCs and you're looking at, what VC you're going to slot, if you had to choose between attack 30% and slash attack up 30, a good rule of thumb is always take the slash attack up, because the attack up is not going to affect your assault or your attacking damage numbers as much as the slash attack up will. The modifiers are in different places. Definitely not a conversation for like a beginner guide video. Just know that any modifier to slash attack, shooting attack, pull arm attack, piercing attack, losing my mind at this point in the video, that's always going to be stronger in like 99 out of 100 cases than actually running a magic up card or a attack up card. Ifrit, attack up 50% here. Even if you ran Ifrit at attack plus 50% and you had the option to get slash attack up 30, odds are slash attack plus 30 is still going to be more powerful than attack up 50%. Trousseau is kind of like Echoing Screams and running through snowfields, except it's magic attack up. Rama is the magic up card for your party-wide ability. Odin, probably one of the strongest individual DPS cards in the game. You're going to see one of the newer effects here, which is unit attack resistance up. So unit attack resistance up for the party means that it's going to take attacks that are single attacks. So a single attack would be like 1 square. So if the attack affects 1 square, that's considered a single attack. So you're going to take 20% less damage from that single square attack. Now, if it was an area of effect attack, like Fyraga, for example, where it's that cross formation, that is going to be area attack resistance. So Odin is one of the more powerful cards because it gives the highest source of unit attack resistance up, and it also gives Man-Eater up on the individual unit. Fenrir, very similar. I think Fenrir is a kind of a niche situation, but I do think his magic attack resistance up is good. His individual max HP up is great. You'll notice he's one of the few VCs that has agility on him as well as dexterity, and he's an entirely attack VC. If you're getting Fenrir, you also have access to his Esper that is very powerful. Black Rose Helena is the newest agility card on the market, and it does give agility 15% up for the party. The trick is, though, that it does have to be with a magic user because it's only magic, so it has magic 184. And then you're going to see things like limited bestowed effects sometimes. You just hit the plus and it'll say, okay, the eligible unit is Helena to get this effect. The eligible unit is main job, white mage, black mage, green mage, etc. And that'll tell you kind of how you get your limited effects. Now, there are a lot of VCs in this game, and the rules can always be broken. So if you already have a formation that you have in mind, and you think you might have a better VC formation for me, like if you were going to go all dark units, odds are the Diablos card will be really good for you. So keep that in mind. This is like a guideline. This is like cooking, right? Like this is the recipe. You guys can deviate. You should deviate because what you want to make is a delicious meal. And sometimes you have to deviate and not follow the instructions in order to make that happen. Let's talk about Espers now. Espers are diverse and all over the board in this game. The best recommendation I can give you is that if you are leveling an Esper or if you are using an Esper, you are going to want to use the UR Espers first, and you're going to want to use the Espers that are appropriate for the character that you're running. For example, Glaciella has multiple Espers she can run. We have Leviathan here, which you can see I have 2-star and leveled up. These stats do carry over to the unit, but we will talk about that when we do get to Resonance here in a minute. You go to the Esper training board and you can see what each Esper can give to the units. Now you unlock the different nodes here, so you can see that Leviathan gives water attack up 25%. That is really powerful. Now in comparison, you can see that Titan, for example, again, using Glaciella as our model here, gives attack up 2%, spirit up, and I could also get pierce attack up. but the pierce attack I can only get is 15% and attack 7%. So he does have Lightning Eater max though. So depending on the situation, if I wanted my Glaciella to be more spirit oriented or more magic defensive, I might run Titan and I might reorient these nodes to give her pierce attack up. But Leviathan is actually going to be one of the more powerful Espers for her. So Espers can really be variable, and it really comes down to looking at what's on your Esper board, looking at the units that you have, and kind of pairing them up together. I'll give you a great example. Let's say that you pulled an Esper and you pulled Ifrit, right? And Ifrit's your only UR Esper that you have. You come into the Esper board and you look at what you have. You have attack up 7%, Ice Eater, Pierce attack up seems pretty good, right? Missile resistance, water resistance. But then you're kind of looking at things and you realize you don't have a polearm user. So the question is Ifrit still good even though you don't have a polearm user? Well, you do get the attack plus 7% here. Maybe there's a lot of water units in the meta right now. Maybe there's missile units featured. So the answer is yes, he could be, but really it depends on, you know, what the current meta is, what people are running, what Espers, like what other units you have, what other Espers you have. General rule of thumb is that almost all UR Espers will always be better than any of the MR and below Espers. There are a few exceptions, some MR Espers that I am particularly fond of. Come back through here. I do love Red Chocobo, which is a limited time with the Final Fantasy 1 event. There are some situations where the Soul Flayer can actually be stronger than some of the other magical Espers, depending on what unit you're using. A lot of times that's going to be Spellblade, but if you don't have any magic Espers, the Soul Flayer is going to be really good for you. Chocobo is really good for missile. So is Sylphid here. Other than that, for MR Espers, I'm gonna say Behemoth. Now, Behemoth back in the day, I used to call Behemoth because Behemoth was my Bay. I think Behemoth is a safe bet to invest in on an MR Esper. You're going to be coming in an era where we are going to be getting this beginning of 3-star Espers. So you're going to see a lot of people who are like, oh, Cactar 3-star, Bomb 3-star, Behemoth 3-star. Behemoth is going to be one of the first 3-star Espers that are coming out. Again, one of those situations where you're going to have to determine for yourself what's important. It's going to be difficult because you have to make your own judgment call. You have to make your own decisions. Again, if you are in our Discord, you can always ask a question. You can ask the community. Units or Espers that I would usually stay away from: Flodai, Malboro Bomb, Golem, Zoo. I mean, I really get nothing from those. I think Cactar and Iron Giant you can make a case for. If you're looking for an all-rounder Esper, Odin is always good, Siren is always good. If you're looking for another Esper that'll just do you well, Fenrir, Demon Wall for defense. Yeah, I would say that's about it. I would say avoid investing in an Esper that is going to do you poorly, because Espers are forever, and you're not going to get a lot of materials to invest in them. Now, since we're talking about Espers, we're going to transition and talk about the token system, because that is also important in regards to Espers. So the token system was recently released, and there are a variety of buffs that the token systems offer. They are a one-time buff system, and you'll notice that we have item sell price up, vision card EXP up, vision card enhancement, huge massive success up, Esper EXP acquisition up, and equipment item EXP up. You are going to want to focus on Esper EXP up. You're going to want to focus on item sell price up. Item sell price affects Gill Snappers, which makes you Gill. Esper EXP is pretty self-explanatory. Now, you get these by fulfilling these missions monthly, and as a new player, I'm not sure that you're actually given these on the first month, so you may want to just invest your Magicite sparingly until you're able to get done with your first month and you have, you know, no, you're probably not going to have all of these, but you're probably going to have enough to dump into Esper EXP, because the Magicite is so valuable and you are able to get plus 100% from your Esper Magicite. I can't emphasize enough how important this is for Esper Magicite and Esper leveling. So keep this in mind while you are looking at this. All right. Well, we've gone quite the way, and we are just a little bit before halfway through, but I have a feeling we'll be going pretty quickly through the next couple of things. Let's talk crafting and let's talk equipment. Now, the best rule of thumb, if you are crafting a +5 piece of gear, is that you do need 63 recipes. Now, most of the time you're going to be grinding this gear out. However, there's a couple exceptions. If you are playing right now during the anniversary or when 120 has most recently come out, they have recently started offering pieces of gear in the shop for 2k regular paid Visior that give you an entire +5 weapon. Let's go ahead and pull the anniversary shop up here and I'll show you. You can see we have the Dark Gloves +5, Golden Armor +5, Golden Blade +5, and Golden Helmet +5. This is an excellent way to catch up as a new player. Having to grind these out for your first time can be really rough if you don't have the formation or the team ready. So being able to just purchase them right out is really nice for you. I'm going to show you how to max out a piece of gear. So we are going to buy the Golden Helmet +5, and we are going to go ahead and show you how to max out a piece of gear because it is a little bit nuanced. Now, there are 2 stages to maxing out a piece of equipment. You have to have it, and then you have to have the +5 version, and then you have to awaken it to level 50. So awakening it to level 50 gives it sort of that level cap increase. Getting the +5 version can also give you different stats. Let me show you what I mean. The +2 Golden Helmet here, you'll see, has missile attack resistance up 2. Now, I did just get a Golden Helmet +5, so let's go ahead and see what the Golden Helmet +5 is. If it is in here, maybe I have to get it from my... There it is. The Golden Helmet +5 gives missile attack resistance +8. So the difference between a +0 and a +5 is going to be that you are going to get more resistance to the specific weapon type, depending on if it's a +1 or a +5. And again, to get that +5, you do have to have 63 recipes and essentially craft that piece of gear 63 times. Now, you don't have to do this. We can go to the crafting menu, as I'll show you here, and we will pick something here that, you know, we maybe don't have, you know, the capability to max, but it's going to be a pretty easy way to level up. Let's do the Holy Knight Shoulder Pauldron right here. Now, this is going to be a +0 version, and you'll see that it's going to pop up here with, you know, the materials that's going to be needed. Now, I'm going to roll it over slowly, and you'll see that it's taking more materials each time because in order to make this, in order to make a +2, it has to craft 2 +1s, level them to 10, merge them together to make a +2. If you want to make a +3, it has to craft 2 +2s, which means it has to craft 4 +1s, level 10, level those +2s to level 20, merge them together to make a +3, so on and so forth. So you can see here, when I got to +5, it's saying I don't have enough of this material. And notice that I scrolled all the way down here. I'm going to highlight it, take a look at it, and I'm going to say, okay, if I wanted to gather some more of this, these are the different ways that I could get a hold of this material. Now, I do have some of these crafted already in my inventory, so I'm going to hit use crafted equipment as materials to see if maybe I have enough crafted that I don't need to craft all of these in order to make it work. And look at that, I actually did. So it's going to take the crafted equipment in my inventory and it is going to craft a +5. So let's go ahead and do that. And there we go. It's going to give us the type to choose. Now, every piece of equipment has a different type that you can associate with it. I personally find that going with defense a lot of the times is the best way to go. For this specifically, I am going to go vital though, because I know that this particular piece of gear gives a high amount of HP, and I don't really have a piece of gear that's giving me a high amount of HP. So now we have that +5 Holy Knight's Pauldron maxed, and at +5, and you can see we have some spares here as well. So the level cap on it is level 10. Well, let's awaken it some more. So I'm going to go to the awaken menu, and you can see we have to awaken it to +5 to get it to level 50. We'll craft that up. So now it's level 50. Now we have to enhance it. Now there are 2 ways to enhance a piece of gear. You can see that the max on this piece of gear is going to be 785 HP, 3 defense, 3 spirit, -5 evasion, and 0 critical hit rate. You have regular enhance, which is going to give you basically using your adamantite here to level up the piece of equipment. And once you select that, it's going to give you an option to use seals. Now, seals are wonderful because seals enable you to have a higher percentage chance to roll on the stat that you want for this piece of gear. So in this piece of gear, I am going to use some seals for both evasion, crit, and HP. Evasion and crit are always going to have a lower success rate, so just keep that in mind. And let's go ahead and see how high we get here. Now, it is slightly RNG based, so keep that in mind when you are doing this. You can see we got 747 out of 785, which is really close. Our crit is still -6, and our evasion is still -6. Well, we do thankfully have hammers in order to sort this out. Now, we can give crit hammers so that the crit is less affected. So you can see here, I can plug those in. I can do 1 evasion hammer so that I can close that evasion. And then I can hammer out the HP here to get the full HP. Now, I only have access to a total of 10 hammers, and I use 10 hammers here. And I'm going to go ahead and smith, and that is going to give me a perfect piece of equipment. So for those of you that are wondering how to go about doing this, I just showed you. Hopefully this is helpful. Sometimes people run into the problem when they're crafting or when they're auto crafting, where they select a piece of gear and they go to the +5 and it says they are unable to make it. So right here you can see with Iron Helmet, it's because I don't have enough recipes, but they forget to scroll down here and look at the awakening enhancing materials necessary for crafting as well. Another thing that's awkward about the auto crafting system is you have to have all 3 rarities of the stones down here. So sometimes if you're an experienced player, you'll only have the gold or the silver and none of the bronze. If you don't have the bronze, it is going to stop you from auto crafting. So make sure when you see the bronze in the shop, you just purchase them so you can avoid that problem. It's just one of those things like quirks that War of the Visions has. So keep that in mind when you are building up pieces of gear. All right, so we've covered equipment, espers, vision cards, units. Let's go ahead and talk about the formation menu, and we'll just go into some real quick tricks. As a new player, really important that you set your companion settings. Your companion settings are what your friend units are going to have access to. If you have the JP card maxed out, make sure you set it. This is also what your guild's going to see. If you do join a guild, make sure you set your guild battle composition. Under normal, you can do attack and defense. And then under limited, when they're doing a limited guild battle, you set attack and defense as well. Now, besides the formation menu, let's also talk about Chocobo Expedition. Chocobo Expedition is kind of an auto farming method for you so that you can get a whole bunch of free materials. You can notice I have multiple units set here. Now, you probably do not have access to setting multiple units. You will have to purchase more slots. You will also notice I have multiple expedition parties. The reason I have multiple expedition parties is because as you play the game, you unlock Royal Rank. And as you unlock Royal Rank, you do unlock more parties. Now, there is a unit bonus feature. So you can see El Sorel is the bonus unit. So I have El Sorel here in the primary party. Bonus unit only affects the primary party. Let's go to the party formation screen. Now, you can select what area you want to go to. So right now I'm farming Twilight Wood. I'll come in here though, and you can see that there are multiple areas for you to farm. Don't fall for the trap of farming the Ironforge Mine or the Summoner's Frontier. Be very specific, be very intentional, particularly with, usually you pair this with the Esper that you first got, so that you can focus on getting Magicite on Espers that you first got. Now, another thing players don't realize is that you can expand your item slots from the Chocobo Expedition. So if you hit the plus item, it will actually give you an option to increase the slots for 10 item slots for your Chocobo Expedition. So it's saying it's going to be 350 Visior. I'll hit OK. And now you can see I have 130. Most of you guys probably start out with like 40 or 60. I would recommend expanding it to about 120 just for quality of life. Your units in here also get EXP, so keep that in mind as well. Oh, now this is something that will happen, is sometimes your blue stacks will crash. We're just going to power through this though, and we're going to keep going because this video is already 40 minutes long and y'all are going to be clicking around Watch this be like the most watched and commented part of the video. All right, so we've talked about the challenge tokens. Let's talk about the challenge board. In case you didn't know about the challenge board, so as a newer player, you're going to have access to challenges right here. So make sure you click on this. You will have a new unit challenge. You'll have challenge missions down here. You'll have different phases. Usually it's like clear the story mission. There's usually, like right now, El Sorel, Christmas Venera, and Garvel are all kind of featured new units. So usually there's a new unit challenge board. The UR unit challenge is available to all new players, and you do get a free Medina from it, which is super awesome. You do also get some of Medina's shards here, and you also get a free Shadow Links. So both of them completely viable to invest in and use. So make sure you're checking that out and doing that as well. Let's talk about Resonance and Affinity. So we had mentioned when we were talking about Espers that you can actually get these stats transplanted directly to your characters, and that is through a feature called Resonance. Now, Resonance is essentially how long you've had an Esper equipped on a unit so that they can build a relationship over time. So, for example, you can see that Little Leela has a resonance of 10 with my Esper Typhon here. That means Little Leela is going to get the entirety of Typhon's stats added to her stats. Now, this is really important if you consider that some Espers are extremely powerful stat-wise, and the difference between having like Resonance 1 versus Resonance 10, absolutely huge. Remember how I talked about how important agility was? Well, think about how powerful it would be to put Odin on someone with 19 agility. So how do you get Resonance, and how do you farm it, so to say? Well, Resonance is given to you by using the Esper on the individual unit to clear missions. So I'm going to pull up a story mission here real quick, and you will notice that I have a formation called Resonance. Now, the reason I have this Resonance formation is because I am farming Resonance on these characters through using skip tickets or through farming battles. So you can see that Typhon maxed out Resonance with Little Leela. Let's see how we're doing with our other units. I'm going to long click on Odin here. I'm going to go to Resonance, and you can see that he's actually maxed with a limb, it looks like. Oh, maybe not. I actually don't see a limb. Maybe she's at the bottom. Okay, so he's only level 2 out of 10 with a limb right now. So that means that a limb is only going to be getting 20% of the Esper's stats to her. So this is going to be really important. And this is one of those things where if you neglect your Resonance, or you're just grinding missions with Espers that are already Resonance 10 on your units, it's a missed opportunity to get Resonance on your units. So make sure you're always having a Resonance farm party set up so that you can skip ticket things, get Resonance on those units and those Espers, because having a variety of Espers with a variety of Resonance on all of your different units is really important. So keep that in mind. Along with Resonance, there is also a mechanic called Affinity. Now, Resonance takes about 1,000 runs with the Esper equipped to get level 10 out of 10 Resonance. Now, I long clicked on Halloween Leela here, and we're going to pull up Affinity/Resonance. Now, you can see the degree of Resonance with different Espers here, but you can also see what's called Affinity. Now, Affinity is when a unit runs with other units. They build relationships. Now, this is not as impactful as Resonance, but this is still important if you are doing things like setting up formations for raids, or setting up some type of PvE formation where agility, again, is really important. So what's the difference between an Affinity of 5 and an Affinity of 1? Well, let's click on Uldoa here, and it'll tell us what you get when you are in range 2 of Uldoa. When you're within range 2 of Uldoa, you're going to get agility plus 10%, dexterity plus 15%, and luck plus 10%. This is really powerful. Now, if you compare that to, say, a Resonance of 2 with a limb here, you're only going to get agility 10, dex 10, no luck, and that's within a range of 1. Now, Affinity does take some time to level. I don't have an exact number for you, like I would for something, say, Resonance, but it is one of those factors that is so crucially important that you do want to keep it in mind, specifically if you're going to be running like a dark slash composition for raids in the near future, or you have a specific composition that you're going to be running in arena. You want to make sure outside of arena that if you're running those 3 units together, they do have max affinity so that they are buffing each other. Now, we are getting to our final topic, and that is going to be bravery, faith, and we're going to be talking about elemental chaining. So let's go ahead and pull up our units here. And let's go ahead and we'll pull up Winter Victoria. Now, you can see that my Winter Victoria has 97 bravery and 50 faith. That's because you want 50 faith on your attack units because there are a variety of abilities that are triggered based off your unit's faith. And I talked about how important Ziza's bells are. If you don't have a faith of 50 on your unit, your Ziza's bells have a chance to not land their buff. So if you are planning on putting Ziza's bells on a unit, you must have faith 50 on that unit. Now, you can increase a unit's faith to 97 and a unit's bravery to 97. You can lower a unit's bravery to 30. You can lower a unit's faith to 30. My rule of thumb is that if they are going to have bells on, their faith is 50. If they are going to be debuffing with status ailments, it's important to max their faith out. So for example, my Victoria does charm a lot, and faith is one of the indicators of whether or not a status effect is going to land on an opponent. So making sure you have your unit maxed faith for status effects is also important. If you're a magic caster, having max faith is going to increase the amount of damage that you do. Now, if you're a magic tank, having less faith means you're going to take less damage from magic, so you might want your faith to actually be lower. Now, bravery, quite similarly, is going to affect a couple things. It is going to affect your damage for bravery above 50. It's also going to affect your proccing for your counter abilities. So there is an equation that does affect your counter abilities with bravery. Keep that in mind. And above 50, it will affect your physical damage by a certain percentage as it raises. Just get it to 97. That's what I'm going to recommend. Keep it there. How do you level this to 97? How do you level your faith? Well, let's talk about that because there's a couple different ways to do this. Probably the first and easiest method as a newer player is using the guild barracks. You come to the barracks, you can set your units in the barracks. You can choose whether to raise their bravery or their faith here. Their bravery, so you can see here, Elsorel's bravery is at 72, and I can set her target faith value. So I know that Elsorel, I want to have probably about 50 faith. So I'm going to set it right there and it'll adjust. And then, of course, you can adjust other ways as well. But you'll notice that this doesn't, the barracks kind of caps at 70 bravery, 70 faith. But you'll notice that Crease here has 97 bravery. So how do I get that high level bravery? Well, what you need to do is you need to have a couple things. And everybody in the game is given the free unit. Oh God, what's her name? Fina, there we go. So if you want to increase your faith, Fina has an ability called Cheer. Now, most of your friends' units will probably have Cheer on, and you want to get Cheer to above level 11. Now, if you are in a map and you cast Cheer on your units, if it's above level 11, it will permanently increase that unit's faith. So that is how you would raise your faith from 70 to 97. Is you use Fina's ability Cheer. Kilfei also has a faith raising ability. If you want to raise bravery, any samurai unit has access to the ability Meditate. So let's take a look at Sir O here, go to his ability menu, and we will go to Meditation. Raises bravery of allies within area around self. Again, I believe this is level 11 to permanently affect your units. Personally, I just level it to 20 because I don't want to be dealing with that nuance. I just want to make sure it works. And that is how you raise the bravery permanently from your characters. There are other ways to do this. You could acquire a crystal from a dead body, for example. You could use Cecil's TMR to max out your bravery, for those of you that have Cecil's TMR. But again, this is a new player guide, and I am assuming that you probably do not have Cecil's TMR. Now, let's go ahead and talk about our final mechanic, which everybody struggles with, and that is elemental chaining. The best way when you are encountering a mission that says chain 2 or 3 times on any of your hard quests, I will show you how to do that. Make sure you have your friend units, right? So have a friend unit and have a friend and run a unit with multi-hit attacks. The best unit for this, if we just go to, let's see if we can get like a single unit in the party. So we're just gonna set Christmas Mastery. If you go to your companion settings and search your friends by wind, I guarantee you're going to see all of your friends in the wind section with probably some type of Lucia set. Grab a Lucia. Lucia is your elemental chaining buddy. And we're just going to embark. Now, if you don't have Lucia, there's a variety of units who can do this as well. El Sorel has Drain Rush, for example, which is a 3-hit light slash attack. So definitely not the only unit that can do this, but Lucia is the easiest. Now, Lucia has a turn. She has an ability called Quadruple Shot. And you'll notice it's going to get 3 chains and 3 elemental chains. So how this works is when you do an elemental attack on an opponent multiple times, it is going to chain both elemental. And if it's the same type of attack, such as missile, it'll chain missile, each giving you a 20% modifier to the attack or the next attack in the process. So if I had 2 Lucias here, and I did quadruple shot from this Lucia, and then I did another quadruple shot on this wolf, I would get up to chain 6. Now, things that interrupt the chain would be like if another unit that is either non-missile or non-wind attacks the enemy, or the enemy takes a turn. If you're looking for more nuanced information on this, there are more videos that explain this in detail. This is just really showing you how to deal with the missions that are immediately asking you as a new player to do this. This is an important mechanic when you do get to raiding in the future, so keep that in mind. All right, everybody. I think that about covers it. There's probably people out there who have great feedback and great information they want to put in this video as well. Post it down in the comment section, read the comment section. This video is, you know, never perfect, and the meta is always changing, and the world for new players is always changing as well. So make sure you do that. My last tip for you is to make sure you use the Amazon App Store, because you can support me by using my affiliate link dig.gs/coins, or you can go to dig.gs/offer as well. It does save you 20% on Visior purchases if you are going to be purchasing in the game. As always, everybody, have a great rest of your day.